Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
Beetlejuice.
Jonathan Voico.
Beetlejuice.
Chris Carr is here.
I'm not saying it again.
You shouldn't, because the
trick
movie
me.
sucks.
I liked it.
We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things today, including reviewing Beetlejuice, and a whole bunch of things more. And here's how today's show is going to go. Like the Beetlejuice review, we're also going to talk about a bunch of other predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, comment, or question for us to address, as long as we deem it appropriate for us to address on the show, go ahead and use the tip link that you see on the screen at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And we'll address it in the second half of the show. The good news, too, is that this tip link is good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're watching this show later on in the day and you have a comment or question, go ahead and fire it on in and we'll get around to it on the next episode. All right, guys. That down. Let's not waste any time on this Friday and dive right into it. I got a football game to watch later tonight. The NFL is back. Very excited about that. I know Chris is very, very excited.
Did they go somewhere?
They did the thing.
about the return of the NFL.
Well, they did the thing.
Well, speaking of returning, it looks like Brad Pitt and George Clooney are, in fact, fixin', that's a word I learned from Chris the other day, are fixin' to return for an Ocean's 14. Now, we've been hearing some chatter and talk about this over the last couple months. We even did a story about it about a month or so ago, that they are truly looking at it. Well, now it looks like it just took a major step forward, because according to Deadline, Clooney and Pitt are all on board for it, and they are actually out trying to get the director they want. And the director that they want is Edward Berger, the guy who directed All Quiet on the Western Front, that won a bunch of Academy Awards. Oh, and he also directed an already Oscar Best Picture buzz film called Conclave that they previewed for us at CinemaCon with Ralph Fiennes about the selection of the new Pope and all this kind of stuff. The preview they showed us for it at CinemaCon was great. It just premiered at the Telluride Film Festival, and everybody is buzzing that it's going to have Best Picture nomination potential all over it. So that's great. So according to this report, Brad Pitt, George Clooney are trying to get Edward Berger to come on. It'll be the first Ocean's movie, I think, that Soderbergh doesn't direct.
It is, yeah.
It would be the first. He's directed all the other ones. So they're trying to get him to come in to do this. Now, according to the report, they're saying that Casey Affleck, Matt Damon, Don Cheadle, that the rest of the crew would also most likely, says Deadline, they would also most likely be back. But Smokehouse Productions, with his George Clooney's production company, named after the restaurant he owns, that Jonathan and I have eaten in a couple of times.
Yeah, it's great.
Also, the restaurant where they shot the club scene in La La Land, where he's playing piano and she
They
comes
shoot a
in.
bunch of stuff in there,
That
yeah.
makes sense. That restaurant's great.
They shot yeah, it's a great restaurant. If you're ever in Burbank, go to Smokehouse.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous restaurant. Anyway, so looking about getting the gang back together again here, and I'll tell you what, as a guy who is a sucker for heist movies, I love a good heist movie. Even when the heist movie isn't all that good, I'm still a bit of a sucker for a heist movie. And Oceans is kind of like, Oceans 11, by the way, is also one of those rare examples where the remake is actually better than the original. There are a few of those. What's the one, the John Wayne original and Jeff Bridges played him?
True Grit.
True Grit, right. I think that was a better one than the original. Anyway, it's one of those rare films that was better than the original. And they haven't all been great, but I've liked all of them. So I'm on board. Chris, number one, what would you think about the selection of Edward Berger to come in and direct this? And is it too late for another Ocean's movie, do you think? I don't know. What do you think about this?
I feel like it's not. Every time I'm at a hotel and that movie is playing in syndication, I watch it. Like, I'm always so excited when Ocean's pops up. And so I just give it a go. I think everyone loves that movie. The director here, Edward, is a really interesting choice just because I associate him with so much prestige already.
Yep.
And when you think of kind of,
And heaviness, too.
Yeah. Which, I mean, everyone wants to get a break from their own shtick, I
Yep,
think.
that's
So
true.
having him do this would be really interesting. Getting this ensemble back together, which is a fabulous ensemble. I mean, Clooney and Pitt work so well together. I would love, love, love to see this. I do want to make note, though, they have that lovely little quip in here of the script is leaning to that kind of going in style situation they were bringing up. And that's another movie where there's a remake of that. So there's the 1979 version, and then there's a 2017 version with Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine, directed by Zach Braff.
Which I didn't think was great.
It's fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
So I'm hoping that they're harkening back to that more 1979 version, and that this is then the official send-off of these guys. And it's a big, lavish ensemble piece with tremendous set pieces. Because I feel like these movies were just always up in the ante as well. So how do you top the previous heists to give them that huge epic farewell? And I think you bring in a director who has been able to create really intense stories and give him the opportunity to play instead. So I think it'd be an interesting pick, and I think people would actually show up for it.
By the way, a bunch of people I've seen a couple of people in the live chat saying best heist movie, Italian Job. I like Italian Job very much.
That's a remake too.
I don't think it's the best one. Which one?
I'm just saying that's a remake too.
Yeah, which is also a remake. I don't think it's the best one. What is the best one? I mean, one of the ones that comes to the top of my head, and it's an older film, but I love it. Sneakers.
Oh yeah, I love Sneakers.
I love Sneakers. That's a great one. I think there was actually one is what was the Jason Statham one called? The Bank Heist or something like that?
Maybe.
It was actually the movie.
I believe that.
I think it was called The Bank Heist, but it was the movie I was at Lionsgate Studios official head office.
Is it The Bank Job?
The Bank Job. Thank you. That was the name of it. The Bank Job. That's the movie. As a little bit of side trivia here, I was in Lionsgate's private theater with about 20 other people watching an advanced screening of The Bank Job. When I came out of the theater into Lionsgate's lobby and turned my phone back on and had 1,000 messages telling me that Heath Ledger had died. So that's what I'll always, it's unfortunate, but I'm always going to associate The Bank Job now with finding out. Do you guys have any favorite heist movies?
Baby Driver, also.
Oh, Baby
Baby
Driver's
Driver.
a great heist movie.
Hell or High Water, and also Rogue One.
Oh.
Yeah, at its heart, Rogue One is a heist movie. Yeah.
That's
Very
true.
large scale, galactic level kind of
they're
heist
feeling
movie.
something big.
Then also Hobbit: The Desolation of Smog
Right.
is a heist movie.
It's
as well.
ultimately a heist movie as well, yeah.
It's
Do we
about
have any animated heist movies? Do you know off the top of your head?
all the Lupin the Third things, because he is a jewel thief.
Wasn't the
So-
bad guy sort of a heist movie?
The Great
Bad
the
Guys
Great
is a
Muppet
heist movie.
Caper.
Great Muppet Caper.
Great.
Yeah,
That's
there's
great.
a bunch
You
of
guys
them.
are smart
Inside
here.
Man, I think, is a really, really great one. And again, another remake. The
Inside
Denzel
Man is
Washington
great.
one.
Inception is kind of a heist movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, a lot of great ones out there. But I think the godfather of all modern heist movies is the Ocean's films. And I would love to see them do another one, especially if they can get Edward Berger. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Would you be down for an Ocean's 14? I totally would be. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's talk about this, shall we? Under the category of movies that are never going to make any money, Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis. Now, I am curious to see this movie, if for no other reason that it's Francis Ford Coppola. That's good enough for me. But I have heard the movie is not good. All the studio people got to see it, and they were all like, what the hell was that? It's clearly working out to be a very difficult movie to market because they put out a trailer and then had to pull the trailer because they put fake critic reviews in their trailer, and that got pulled out. And even then, the trailer's like, I have no idea what this is even supposed to remotely be about. So the one thing that I've said about this movie is that it might be good, it might be terrible, but what I say? I said, this movie isn't going to make any money, though. No one's going to go see this movie. Well, according now to a story in the Hollywood Reporter, I thought this movie might make $10 to $15 million opening weekend, which is nothing. Apparently, it's going to make like half of that. Hollywood Reporter said this: Francis Ford Coppola's passion project, Megalopolis, is tracking for an anemic domestic opening in the $5 million plus range against a budget of $120 million before marketing, according to one major Hollywood research firm. Another leading service thinks it could come in somewhere in between 6 and 8 million. Either way, That would rank among the lowest wide launches of the revered filmmaker's career and put the movie in danger of incurring major losses.
Oh.
Let me correct that. If this movie makes $6 million on its opening weekend, it is not in danger of incurring major financial losses. It is incurring major financial losses. Now, again, none of us in this room can give testimony to the quality of Megalopolis. I might watch this movie and think it's the greatest film I've ever seen in my life. After all, it is Francis Ford Coppola. But that's besides the point. The big statements coming out of those industry screenings they did was, we don't know what this movie is. We have no idea how to sell this to people. We don't know how to make this look appealing to an audience at all. And absolutely nobody's going to go see it. The reason I hate that is because I've seen something that I love done twice in just the last couple of months. Filmmakers and artists who decide to bet on themselves and put up all their own money to make a big project only to have it smack them in the face like a giant penis of a humongous moose. It happened to Kevin Costner.
What happens in Canada?
Costner
What happens
still
in Canada stays in Canada.
Costner
Between you
still
and the
got the
moose.
big red mark across the side of his cheek from what happened with Horizon. And because Costner put up like a ton of his own money. Something that I respect and I love. Bet on yourself.
Yeah.
And he went and did it, and it cost him everything. And now it looks like Francis Ford Coppola, who again, bet on himself. Love it. That's balls. That's gusto. That's a guy throwing the dice, betting on himself. So I'll put up my own money on this.
Heck yeah.
Belief in himself. I
All
love
in,
it.
baby.
Who,
All
need-
in.
who needs
All
a
in.
winery? Nobody needs a winery.
I love that he did that. And it sucks because
It was the worst idea.
now it sucks
I love
because
he
now
did it.
everybody's going to look at what happened with Kevin Costner and Francis Ford Coppola and go, no, never put up your own money. Don't never take a chance. And it sucks because it looks like Megalopolis is going to be a megaflopolis and
my
Horizon
God.
is
Oh,
already
boy.
dead in the water.
Look, it got my curiosity. I'm going to see it with you, but I think I'm going to drive separately because I'm not afraid to walk out of this film. That's the thing. Also, I got a
I'm not
Brave,
afraid
right?
to walk out of this.
What a man.
I got a solution for this film. Just open it 24 times and then you make your money back.
So it just like closes and then they reopen
Yeah,
it and it
Have
closes and reopens.
24 opening weekends.
Wow.
5 million.
24 opening weekend.
You get the
Much-
120.
Much
That's how it
like
works,
your
right?
virginity, right? You can't get it again.
So basically,
Once
basically,
it's open. It's like a Pringles can. All right.
so basically every other weekend it opens.
It'll be a yearly
We
weekend
had
opening.
24 opening weekends and we made $17 million. Somebody in live chat said, Aura Wisdom. I love it. So this sucks because I want more filmmakers to be willing to say, because you know what? It's always easy. I say this all the time on the show. Everybody's an expert about what other people should do with their money, right? Everybody's a world class. This studio should spend this money on this. Would you? Sure, go ahead. Put up your money then. No. Here are two filmmakers who are willing to put their money where their mouth is, believe in themselves, put up their own money to make a passion project, and it sucks that they're not getting rewarded for it. Now, you can make the argument that they didn't deserve to be rewarded for it because maybe they make mistakes with Horizon, maybe they made mistakes with Megalopolis. I like living in a world where people who take big risks and bet on themselves get rewarded for it. And it kind of sucks to hear this. Anyway, Chris, the whole trailer thing with them was a fiasco. Getting caught putting up fake reviews and fake quotes and stuff like that. They're already having trouble getting anybody to pay attention to this movie. I said this movie would make no money, but I didn't think it would make as low as 5 million opening weekend. Do you think it'll actually come in close to 5 million? Do you think it could be a little bit better? And what do you think the overall prospects for the film are now?
I mean, even if it hits that 5 million mark, which it won't, that estimated 5 million mark, it's already in a deficit. It is a losing battle. So not only did Francis Ford Coppola sell his own winery between 500 to a billion or something. He sold it for a lot of money. He sold it for a lot of money. And everyone keeps bringing up this movie cost 120 million to make. Their US distributor is charging them a distribution fee. Coppola owns all the rights to this. So it's not just the 120, right, that he spent. And we talk about this all the time. Everyone always forgets about the marketing budget here. That is being paid to another company that doesn't seem super enthralled with their purchase.
Because to Chris's point, generally speaking, a distributor will pay you.
Yes.
The distributor pays the filmmaker for the right to distribute their film. In this case, Francis Ford Coppola couldn't find anybody willing to distribute the film. And so they went to Lionsgate, came and said, yeah, we'll distribute it if you pay us.
And they do
actually
have
had to pay for
international
some international
who are
deals,
doing
right?
their,
and they
their
got
stuff
IMAX on board with them.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a couple other players involved here, but he's operating at this huge deficit, and there's no way this movie is going to recoup any of this money, any of it. And it's wild when you think about this just a director who is such a kind of legacy director, right? Everyone knows Coppola, to also then give up your vineyard and then have this as your outcome is a real unfortunate situation. And this is why people who are in this industry tell you to never spend your money. Spend somebody else's. It's so much fun and a good time when you're investing other people's money, and when it's yours, it is a nightmare. And it is a big gamble where if you do get the reap the rewards here, high risk, high reward. But man, if you don't make your money back, he's not going to be able to make another film. I don't know if he intended to at this stage in his life, but this is going to absolutely financially ruin him in a Tiger King kind of way.
Well, I mean, let's not forget though, he sold his vineyard for a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think he's still going to have.
He'll have some. He spent a
more
quarter
money
of
than
it.
me.
A minimum, at minimum, he spent a quarter of what he sold to make this film,
and
that's not taking into account the Lionsgate distribution.
Well, and
fees.
taxes on your profit.
And taxes.
But he's still going to have like hundreds of millions left
He
over
absolutely
still. Right?
will.
And it may not matter to him if this was his passion project. This is his his final work. That
His
he wanted.
magnum opus.
Yeah,
I mean,
And that's what I mean. He's not going to be able to invest in himself.
I just
again.
hope
he's not going to be able
he
to make another
has-
movie unless he does an A24 horror film.
I hope he has very good tax lawyers who structured this whole thing so that if there was a loss, he could
doesn't
put
even
it
need
towards
good lawyer. He
the
doesn't even
gain
need
of
good
his
accounts for
winery.
that.
Yeah.
Because he's still sitting. It's like, he lost on this, but he's sitting on a couple $100 million still.
I mean,
So, yeah,
he's
he's
doing
okay.
better than us.
and that only counted
okay.
that. He had money beyond the value of his vineyard.
Yeah.
So he's still sitting on a lot of money.
By the way, I said he wanted this to be his magnum opus. Our viewer TD wrote in the live chat his magnum opulus.
So there you
Oh
go.
boy.
There
Maybe
you
he
go.
sold the vineyard to Pawn Stars. Maybe he could buy it back after.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the best I can do is $200.
Oh,
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It looks like Megalopolis is going to seriously flop and flop hard. I mean, I'm not surprised. It just sucks. Anyway, I haven't seen the film yet. Hopefully we all love it. Are you planning on going to see it? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's talk about this, shall we? Wicked is a very popular Broadway show, which I never went to go see. I'm not the target audience.
It's me.
Surprise, surprise. I'm not the target audience, but I'll tell you what.
tell you what.
The last two CinemaCons, not just this last one, but the last two CinemaCons, they've done big presentations for Wicked, and I have been blown away by both of them. Like, absolutely blown away by them. It looks spectacular. I think all together they showed us probably about 25 minutes worth of stuff, and I was blown away by it. And I think this is going to be huge. I really liked the first trailer they put out. I thought it was quite good. I didn't think it was one of the best trailers of the year or anything, but I thought it was quite good. And they dropped a new trailer, which give you kind of a grander scope idea of the story of it in case you're like me and you haven't seen the Broadway show or anything like that. It's another great trailer. As somebody who is not the demographic for this, it is another wonderful trailer. Everything I see coming out of this movie, first of all, the artistic skills put into this film are breathtaking. I remember a couple CinemaCons ago, they talked about how they didn't want to CG this set, so they literally brought in like 2.1 million flowers to adorn these hills and everything, just to make everything look and feel perfect. And you see it and you feel it. And I like, even just going back to that first trailer too, when, you know, clearly, you know, the Good Witch of the North doesn't like Cassandra Bleth, Ricky Tiki Taki, whatever the name of the Wicked Witch is.
Elphaba?
Elphaba, thank you. I just got to think about Alphabet. Elphaba.
Elphaba, yeah.
She meets Elphaba and is kind of mean. She's mean girls to her a little bit. And then she gives her the ugly hat. And it's a beautiful scene when she walks in and she's being humiliated. And the one guy says, she doesn't even care what people think. And Galinda, that's her name, right?
Galinda, yeah.
Galinda looks at her.
Galinda with a G.
Looks at her with a bit of a revelation, goes, yes, she does. And like, I'm sorry. I don't care what it, fuck y'all. I was moved. I was emotionally moved by it. And this new trailer too, really setting up the confrontation about, you know, what brings her about, what drove her to being the Wicked Witch of the West, the role that the wizard play, who even from the original movie, you know, is a little bit of a douchebag. So I'm telling you what, I think this new trailer is great. I've been saying since 2 CinemaCons ago, this is going to be $1 billion movie. And everybody laughed. Everybody laughed. We'll see who's laughing in December. I really believe, like, look, maybe it'll be 895 million, maybe 1.1, but I really believe this will be or come very close to being $1 billion film. This thing looks spectacular. It looks like it's been put together absolutely perfect. My wife, who has seen the Broadway show like 3 times, she's been telling me everything that we're seeing from this is perfect. And I'm like, okay, well, you're the one who will know. So I thought it looked really good. Anyway, Chris, you saw the new trailer. What did you think about it? And where's your expectations like for Wicked?
I love this trailer. I am a huge musical theater nerd, which should surprise no one given the everything of my personality. I love this show. I've seen it on Broadway. I've seen it in the West End. And this looks so stunning. And the trailer itself, I mean, follow me on this journey, but it kind of gave me the same magical feeling of seeing those first Harry Potter trailers or seeing the Lord of the Rings trailers, where it just felt so transported and you just felt like you were in this wonderful magical world where anything is possible. It's stunning, in my opinion. I love that we see more of their relationship and their dynamic in this. I think everything so far looks like what you'd hope a stage adaptation to screen would be, because this is a difficult one to do. I mean, there's so many iconic moments, not just musically, but visually on stage. And this film, based on the trailers, because I haven't seen anything else, but based on the trailers, looks like it's going to yes and what we got to see in a live performance and really elevate this and make it a beautiful cinematic moment. And man, Jeff Goldblum as the wizard is inspired.
It's so perfect.
I'm so excited.
I gotta admit,
this.
I don't like him as Zeus. Have you tried watching Chaos yet?
I love Chaos. I finished it.
I tapped out after I tapped out a little bit into 3 episodes.
I literally was going to post a video this morning of why is no one talking about Chaos, because I love this show so much.
What's it streaming on?
Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
It's
yeah.
great. You'll love the soundtrack at the very least. The soundtrack is banging.
Good.
So good.
But yeah, he looks great as the wizard.
Oh,
He was
he's
such a
wonderful.
perfect choice to play the wizard. Again, I just remember everybody laughed at me when I said Deadpool 3 was going to be $1 billion film, and everybody said, "No, you're crazy, John. Never gonna." I'm telling you, this movie is going to make a shit ton of money. Like maybe 900, maybe 875, maybe it doesn't quite get to $1 billion, but I think it will. And everybody's going to be rewriting history again. They're all going to be oh no, yeah, we knew it was going to be $1 billion film. Everybody's going to be rewriting history again. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about the new trailer for Wicked? I am absolutely not the target demographic for this movie, and even I am getting completely won over by it. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about a couple of other things, including 3 of us in this room went to go see Beetlejuice. We're going to give our thoughts on that. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about, because a viewer wrote in and asked me about it, I thought it'd be an interesting thing to bring up on the show, what we think are the 5 most underrated Pixar films, and some stuff I've been hearing, and there are reports out there, we're going to cover this, that Armor Wars and Blade may actually be on the chopping block over at Marvel. We're going to talk about those things and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second, thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Our friends at PrizePicks. I need Lamar Jackson to get that one last touchdown for me to win on my PrizePicks. PrizePicks, and of course, our friends at Miracle Made. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. You see, PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And I was pleasantly surprised by just how quick and easy it was to get set up and registered and ready to go. Here's a couple of examples of picking your more or less. Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards, Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards, and CeeDee Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. So guys, download the PrizePicks app today and use the code Campea and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code Campea on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Miracle Made. Guys, it's hot outside and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. So if you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. There are just so many things that make these sheets so fantastic. We already mentioned the self-cooling properties for better quality sleep, but they're also self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. So go to trymiracle.com/Campea. That's TRYMIRACLE.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. And thank you to our friends at PrizePicks and Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode. All right, guys, that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is now in theaters. It is projected to have a massive opening weekend. It's probably going to end up being the 3rd or 4th biggest opening weekend of the year, at least up until this point. Made like $12 or $13 million on its preview night, which is, by the way, more money than the original Beetlejuice made. Just throwing that out there. It's crazy. I mean, really, and the excitement level for it's been growing. I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan in the world, but he's got a couple of movies that I love, and I am a fan of the original Beetlejuice. But I was like, I don't see why they're doing this Beetlejuice movie. Way too little, way too late. And then CinemaCon came back in April in Vegas, and they did this big presentation. I'm like, you know what? That was a really good presentation, and I'm interested now. And I think the trailers have been good. And right now, Beetlejuice is holding a very respectable 77% critic rating and an 86% audience rating. So it's going to be a huge financial success. Clearly, a lot of people are liking it. So we went to go see it, and I think this movie is terrible. Awful. This, all of us, I was telling the guys this earlier, all of us movie fans, every year have 1, 2, or 3 movies that we as individual movie fans are completely the opposite from where the majority are. Either everybody hated a movie and we liked it, or everybody loved a movie that we didn't like. This is going to be Beetlejuice is going to be mine for 2024, I think. Because this movie isn't just not good. I thought it was dreadfully awful. Completely boring. Not funny in the least. There was one laugh. I had one laugh. There's a laugh in the movie. Going back to our theme of moose, there was one laugh in the movie that had a joke revolving around a moose. That was funny, and I laughed out loud.
Was it about his penis hitting someone? Is that
Maybe.
why?
I don't want to
Okay.
spoil it for you, Chris.
All right. Well, thank you. That's nice.
But there's no eye violence with it, so.
Oh, good. The penis doesn't go in the eye. That's
Oh,
terrible.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess if you, yeah.
I mean, you could try.
I guess I walked into
And
that.
I don't
one.
want to, I'm not going to
Just
spoil
like-
anything about this movie, but it was, so number one, it's completely not funny. No laughs in this movie. It is garbage. And there's nothing more painful watching a movie that's trying to be funny when it's not. And so I was just, half the movie I was like this, and then just kept looking at my watch, waiting to find out when we could leave. I was dry. It felt desperate too. A lot of stuff in it just felt completely desperate. And I'll tell you a couple of things that really bother me about it. And I hate it when a movie does this. And we've talked about some other movies that do this, is when they treat all their characters as being complete idiots. All their characters in this movie are completely stupid. Even Winona Ryder, who, again, I wanted to call her, what was her name? Dietz?
Lydia Deetz.
Lydia Dietz. So Astrid, keep wanting to call her Astrid, but that's her daughter. That's Jenna Ortega. Even Lydia, even Winona's Ryder character, is dumb as a fucking rock. Like, she's with, you see in the trailer, she's with Justin Theroux, right? The movie makes it completely clear. Justin Theroux is the world's biggest douchebag. It's clear to see. Everybody else in the movie, clear to see. World's biggest, most awful, painfully stupid douchebag. And the only person that doesn't see it is Lydia. And I'm going to marry him. And even in one of the trailers, they show that he proposes to her at her father's funeral. And everybody else, well, yeah, no, no. Everybody else, all the audience, and like, she's just so stupid.
It'd be like that sometimes, though. You have any single friends? And they bring their trash date around, and you're like, in what world is this okay?
But this took it to wait till you see it. It
I'm
takes it to
excited.
the next
I'm
level.
excited about it.
So even Jenna Ortega's character is unbearably, unrealistically gullible and stupid. And they're all just so dumb. One of the things I got excited about was Monica Bellucci. Will go down in history as one of the sexiest women to ever live. And she brings so much style and screen presence to anything she's in, whether it's a Matrix movie or otherwise. You literally could have, if you had like a, I don't know, either Franklin Richards or Wanda Maximoff's reality warping powers, and you could just reach in and pluck her entire character out of the movie, it wouldn't change a thing about the movie. The character literally served no purpose, no function. You could just pluck her out of the movie and throw the character away, and the movie wouldn't have missed a beat. Willem Dafoe's character was completely pointless and useless in this movie. And Monica Bellucci and Willem Dafoe are awesome. Completely useless, completely could have been thrown away, had nothing, didn't influence the actual outcome of the movie in any way, shape, or form. It was dumb. And then, like, when there was something that maybe could have been a funny joke, they have to ghost-splain instead of mansplain. Ghost-splaining. They had to ghost-splain the joke. Because, Beetlejuice gets his, you see it in one clip in the trailer, Beetlejuice gets his main right-hand guy, Bob. Hey, Bob. Gets Bob to dress up in his clothes. And I won't say the context to not spoil anything, but we as the audience, the moment we see Beetlejuice gets Bob to dress up in his clothes, we all get the joke. But that's not good enough. Beetlejuice literally has to then explain the joke, and that happens 3 or 4 times in the movie. And even the ending, the way the movie climaxes, when Jenna Ortega's character is able to do something that, oh, I'm sorry, again, this won't mean anything to you at all. So people who have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. So Jenna Ortega can pick up that 700-page book for about 5 seconds and find this, and this. And that just suddenly undoes everything.
I think you're getting too angry about a
I
movie.
think-
that doesn't- you have to understand that this movie does not take itself seriously, and you are taking it so
But
seriously.
there's so many movies that don't take themselves seriously and fun and execute right. This doesn't.
Well,
This is just lame
I
and
don't-
boring.
I don't
and
remember
dry.
the first Beetlejuice. Like,
I thought the first Beetlejuice was way better than this.
I'm just saying, like, I never laughed out loud at anything. I just thought it was just one of those like it's nostalgia won me over with this film. I'm gonna admit it. I had a good time. I left it and I said, I like that movie. I had like as soon as the music started.
Most
I
people
was
do.
all-
Most people like it.
And the thing is, I'm not a Tim Burton fan either. It was just we only had 4 or 5 channels when we were young, and Beetlejuice always played on one. I didn't realize it's not my favorite movie.
Wait, that was
but I
interesting
didn't
when you-
realize the impact it had on me.
Yeah, that was
until
interesting when you were telling me that story.
when the music started, I was like, oh my God, I watched this movie or had it in the background so many times that the nostalgia just brought me in from the beginning. And I just was smiling the whole time. The ending, I hate the music. I hate it.
I didn't mind that, but like we were saying, that went way too long.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
basically, they
That went way
tried
too
to
long.
recreate the Deo
Right.
moment
The song
from
that
the
they did in
original
this
song,
was like
and they
so.
butchered it. They
It was so much
butchered it.
longer.
But I left having a good time, and I was so shocked that because I thought you guys were because I wasn't looking at you guys. So when we left, and you're like, I was like, it's a pretty good movie, and then you and Ann were like, are you kidding? Or like, that's terrible. My heart just sank. I was like, what did I just see then? Because
I kind of felt like when I the same way when I got out of it, I'm like, John's either gonna loathe this or he's gonna be like, you know what? I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't think he would love it.
Oh,
But,
God,
yeah. When I saw No out of the theater, I'm like, yeah, he
You know
probably
what?
hated
You know
it.
what gets me mad about it is the fact that at first when they announced it, I'm like, nah, this is a bad idea, and then they convinced me.
oh, you felt duped.
They tricked me. I feel duped because I bought into
the
it.
switcheroo, the
I
biggest
went
The old
into it
Dupaloo.
with pretty
Dupaloo.
decent expectations, and listen again. Look, I'm not saying this movie is Madam Web bad. I'm not saying
Okay.
it's Borderlands bad, but it's bad.
I-
I really just but Ray, like
I
you
like it better
liked
than the first. I actually like it better than
Really?
the first to the
Okay.
point where I want to go back and watch the first, and I never thought I would ever do that, just to see if the jokes in the second one, this one, will actually like come through. Now,
I actually kind of.
Oh, I gotta say, G-Man in the live chat is saying, thank you guys for saving me money. G-Man, understand this. As I established in the beginning, I'm in the minority
Yeah,
here.
because me and Ray
right?
liked it.
If you are a Beetlejuice fan and the trailers look appealing to you, yeah, I hate this movie. I think it's utter garbage. But I'm in the minority. If you're a Beetlejuice fan and you've liked the trailers, remember, 77% of the critics like it, 86% of the audience is saying they like it. If you're interested in it, don't not go just because I'm saying I don't like it. By all means, go and see it for yourself because you may end up enjoying it, and I hope that you do. I just didn't.
I like it better than the first one.
I'm glad you did.
And also, if someone asked me today, like, and they wanted to see it again, I would actually go and see it again. It's just I'm not so into the Tim Burton stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do see it on screen, I'm so awed by his visuals that it takes me away, and it's such a short movie that it was like a ride like at a Universal
That's what I felt like.
Studios or something.
It wasn't a long movie, but it felt long.
Oh yeah, to you.
Yeah.
There was also like I thought I kind of laughed at more than just the one thing that you laughed at. But I am
and that
kinda
was a funny joke.
Yeah.
I got to give it its credit. That
yeah,
was a
the
funny
timing
joke.
on that was perfect. I am surprised. There's one scene near the beginning with in the bathroom scene, that public restroom after she leaves. This,
Yes.
and what he gives her, and then he gives himself, and it's like, ugh. I laughed at that, and then they kissed each other. I thought you were gonna pick
You
up
know
on
what?
that.
Somebody who has not seen this movie is hearing what you're saying and thinking wildly
That's
different.
fine, though. That's
What
fine.
happens at truck stops? Whoa, just like
Like that.
that. Wow.
In the bathroom. In the
Yeah,
bathroom.
it involves a trash
Beetlejuice-
can and a
Beetlejuice summons a glory
It
hole?
involves a trash can in a public restroom,
Something
and I
Beetlejuice-
laughed
yeah,
at
it's
that.
great.
But
Okay. I'm excited about this. I am a huge Tim Burton fan, and I typically tend to agree with Jonathan about stuff too. So I know Logan will like this if you like this.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I'll like this. I had a voiceover yesterday. I booked a commercial campaign, so
Oh,
I had to
nice.
cancel my plans. But I'm excited about going. I think this looks great. I'm bummed that you didn't have fun though.
Yeah.
I'm bummed I didn't have
You really
fun.
did come around to this
They,
one.
they totally sold me on it.
The way you're
They
talking,
got me on board.
the way you're talking, I'm surprised you didn't walk out, which would have made me mad because I was watching the film and I rode with you guys.
Well, remember, I've only walked out of like
Expendables 4.
5 or 6 movies in my life. Expendables 4 being one of them.
I think that's my.
And I don't
second
think
movie.
this was as bad. I mean, Expendables 4 is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. But I mean, again, I don't think it's Madam Web bad. I don't think it's Borderlands bad. But it will end up in my top 10 worst films of the year.
I'm also shocked at the high scores on actual Rotten Tomatoes. I like the movie, but it seems a little. I'm surprised.
I think 77%. Like that's not sky high.
But
it's
Joker
very,
2
very
is what,
solid.
61% right now? It's
Yeah.
really crazy.
And you're obviously going to find then, I mean, obviously it's not, if something's not 100%, then you are going to find people that don't like
Yeah,
it.
and no movie is gonna appeal to everybody, and
100%,
it's just,
Absolutely.
and again, we all have that 1 or 2 movies every year that we as individuals find ourselves in the complete opposite from the majority. This is going to be mine for 2024. Is Beetle? This is the one that most people seem to like, and I'm glad people are liking it. I'm thrilled Ray had a good time with it, and I'm glad most people are liking it. I wish I did too, but I thought it was unbearable. I thought, and I think it's one of Tim Burton's worst films.
Worse than Dumbo?
One of his worst films.
Yeah, you got him.
I love the man.
got him.
Dumbo. I went,
One of his worst films.
You got him. He's smart.
All right, guys, question is for you. Did you have a chance to see Beetlejuice? If so, did you think kind of like me? Were you disappointed by it? Or were you like the majority of other people that seem to have a good time? And again, let me reemphasize. I am one person. Just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you won't. If you're excited about seeing this movie, by all means, go and see it. Don't be turned off by it by me. I'm just giving you my thoughts on it. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down out of the way, let's move from garbage to underappreciated. You know, one of our viewers wrote in the other day, asked me a question about something related to a Pixar film. And they said, and they kind of added on the end, by the way, you know, what do you think of the most underrated Pixar films? And here's why it caught me the right way. Because when you think about Pixar films, it's hard to think of something that's underrated. They're such a celebrated franchise, practically a franchise, but they're such a celebrated studio and the stuff they've made. As a matter of fact, don't pull this up or anything, Jonathan. If you go to the Rotten Tomatoes meter and say go down to the starting at the top, the highest rated Pixar film. So Chris, I'm going to give you a bit of trivia.
okay.
The number 1 highest Rotten Tomatoes Pixar film. And then you go to number 2, which will have a slightly lower Rotten Tomatoes score. Number 3 is slightly lower.
Okay.
What Rotten Tomatoes score do you think the number 19, the 19th highest Pixar Rotten Tomatoes score is?
Well, they're all great. So I don't know, like a 75?
91.
Seriously? Pixar's beautiful.
91
Good for them.
is the 19th highest. The
That's
19th
awesome.
highest critically rated film on the Pixar list. If you go down to number 20, it becomes 88%. 88% is the 20th.
Pure trash.
That's just how great Pixar is. So it's tough to pick out things with Pixar that one would consider underrated. Now, I'm going to give you my list of what I think are the 5 most underrated. And by underrated, I want us to get a baseline definition for underrated. And underrated is a very subjective thing, but underrated to me is where its success and general reputation is, and how big the gap is between that and how good you think it is. So there's a lot of movies that was successful and has good reputation and you agree, but that's not really underrated. But then there's something that can have a certain level of success and reputation, but you think it's like way more than that. That's underrated. So let me give you my list of 5 most underrated Pixar films. I'm going to start at number 5. Soul. Now, one of the big reasons Soul is so drastically underrated is because it was one of the victims of Bob Chapek's "let's dump our Pixar films on Disney Plus." And so a lot of people never saw it and whatever. Now, I'm not saying this thing is Toy Story 3, but it had depth to it. It had absolute depth. It wasn't afraid to ask big questions, and at the same time had that Pixar heart and, no pun intended, soul. It was a beautiful film that whenever people bring up conversations about Pixar films, nobody brings up Soul. And I get it because a lot of people never got a chance to go see it, but I think Soul is a really wonderful film. And so it's my number 5 most underrated. My number 4 most underrated. And a part of the reason I think this film doesn't get talked about much is because it came out literally 1 week before the pandemic shut down the movie theaters. Tom Holland, Chris Pratt's Onward. This is a beautiful movie. Now, I'm a Dungeons and Dragons player, so a big part of this movie is Dungeons and Dragons, but it's also a very heartwarming, special movie about 2 brothers who lost their dad when they were both young and who are on a quest to try to get one more day with their dad. Mark W. in the live chat is saying, Onward broke me. It almost broke me too, because I was sitting there with Anne. And of course, you got my wife, Ann, and Ray are brother and sister. And it wasn't terribly long after we lost Ann and Ray's dad. And we didn't know what the movie was about when we sat down to watch it. And as they're going through it, like, Ray, you should have seen Ann, man. I kept on looking over at Ann. And she was both happy, like super happy, but ugly crying the whole movie at the same. It totally broke her, but it was a beautiful kind of broken. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't be ready for that movie yet. I still haven't seen it, but I will.
Again, I'm not saying it's Incredibles. I'm not saying it's Toy Story 3, but it's a very underrated movie. It's a truly wonderful little film, and I really, really enjoyed Onward. And no one ever talks about Onward. No one ever brings up Onward. So that's why to me
that's a Pixar film. I always, whenever
Exactly.
you say it, I always think it's DreamWorks. Even when
it looks like a DreamWorks film.
Yeah, I was like, wait, isn't that DreamWorks? No, it is Pixar and Disney. Yep.
All right, that's my number 4 most underrated Pixar film. My number 3 has people who saw it loved it, but the reason I'm putting it on my most underrated is because I never hear it brought up in any conversations ever when you start talking about Pixar films. Coco.
Really?
I never hear anybody bring up Coco.
Oh, my friends love this movie.
Do they? Good.
Yeah. And it's at Disneyland. There's like a whole big thing with this at Disneyland, so that might also be.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, I don't go to that crap fest anymore.
Yeah, you know.
Screw Disneyland.
Might as well be called Beetlejuice Land.
Well done.
I'll call it Beetlejuice Land. But I remember I went into Coco, and I remember the first things I said coming out of it, because there's no way I'm going to appreciate fully like all the references and the deeper meaning of Mexican heritage and stuff like that that's in it. Because I said, I know about as much as true Mexican culture as Taco Bell knows about true Mexican cuisine. So it is what it is, but it didn't matter. It transcended. And even though it was about these Mexican families, I felt a lot of the similarities to Italian families and all this kind of stuff. And it's, again, bigger questions and gets into a lot of grand things. But at its heart, so emotional and beautiful. And at the end with Coco, who doesn't cry? At the end of this movie, this is a beautiful, wonderful top 10 Pixar film. To me, and I don't believe it gets talked or given nearly as much credit it deserves. So my number 3 most underrated Pixar film is Coco. All right. Moving on to number 2. Again, another victim of the Bob Chapek, let's dump our Pixar films on Disney Plus. The film that should have won the Best Animated Feature Film Academy Award, Turning Red. This movie does not look like much on its surface. I fully agree. Does not look like much on its surface. But once you start watching it, and granted, unlike, say, Coco, I did feel a very personal connection to this one because the movie takes place in Toronto, Canada. So I'm like, I recognize these neighborhoods. But this, again, it's just a beautiful movie about family and traditions and the roles of parents and kids and the rebellious stage that kids get into. And I certainly remember mine and all that kind of stuff. And by the end, I just think it's a beautiful, absolutely hilarious movie that I completely adored and thought was fabulous. Again, I don't think it's a top 3 Pixar movie or anything like that of all time, but I do believe it's tremendously underrated. So for me, Turning Red, my number 2. My number 1 most underrated. Remember, we're talking about underrated. I'm not saying my number 1 best Pixar film. And I don't even think this film is quite as good as Coco, but I think it's more underrated. Elemental. Elemental is this little film that came out at the absolute lowest point for Pixar. A bunch of their films had just been dumped on Disney Plus, devaluing Pixar films. And then when Pixar did come out with a film, we got Lightyear, which not a lot of people liked. And then after that comes Elemental. It's not a sequel. It wasn't part of a franchise. It was a totally original film. Nobody recognized the characters or anything like that. And it came out at Pixar's absolute low point. And I can't remember. I got to look it up here. But its opening weekend was terrible, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
The opening weekend for Elemental was $29 million.
Yeah. Everyone thought that was going to be just like, that's Pixar now.
Yep.
You know?
It came out to an abysmal $29 million opening weekend. But then something incredible happened. Word of mouth started to get out about it. And even though it opened so pathetically low, this movie went on to make about $500 million at the box office. Because word just kept spreading. And people started going back. And they started going back, bringing new people with them. It is a beautiful, and it's also a very smart movie, like talking about the immigrant experience as well, which means a lot to me. I'm a child of immigrants, right? Like my dad came over on the boat with his dad. And so there was something very, very real, very special about that. And then I'm going to go on a limb and say this. I think this is the best animated rom-com ever. I think it's the best animated rom-com ever. I think it's touching and beautiful. And oh my God, the song in it. I've been humming it all day. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, the song, by the way, go look it up. It's called Steal the Show. Look it up on and just listen to the song. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. So again, I think, these are not my list of what I think are the 5 best Pixar films. These are the 5 that I think are the most underrated. At number 5 is Soul. At number 4 is Onward. At number 3 is Coco. At number 2 is Turning Red. And I think the most underrated Pixar film is Elemental. Anyway, Chris, we've been talking about, it's difficult to talk about underrated films from Pixar because most of them are really celebrated. But if you thought there were a couple of Pixar films that don't get quite the accolades they deserve, what would those be?
I have a few crossovers with you because Soul and Onward are on mine as well as Elemental. Elemental, I thought, was vastly underrated, and it was so beautifully done and such a great story. Also on my list, though, aside from those 3, I've got Luca. I love that movie.
Yeah, I remember you really enjoyed Luca a lot.
I love Luca. I think it's so charming. It's so lovely. It is about a coming-of-age story with 2 Italian merboys going into a little Italian
Merman.
town. They become mermen. It's fantastic. I love it so much. It's really, really great. They have this really great bit in there too about Silenzio Bruno, which is this whole idea of, any bad thought you have that tells you, no, you can't do it. You just tell that thought, Silenzio Bruno.
Yeah.
And it's been a really great teaching tool of just get that part of your brain out of there. Tell that guy to shut up. And then my other one that I have on here is Monsters University.
You know what? That is an
Yeah,
underappreciated one.
It's a great
that's
one.
A good one.
And Pixar does this beautiful thing. Amy Newman and I actually talked about this quite a bit. Pixar does this great thing about telling you to follow your dreams, but also it's okay if those change or pivot or you're not great at the thing you like.
Right.
And Monsters University is that so beautifully of, Mike Wazowski wants to be this great scare guy. He really wants to be the top scarer. And he's funny and goofy, and he works really well as this support system. And supporting people can be enough too sometimes. It's okay if you're not the best at something. And especially in, our current culture, or any kid who grew up as a millennial where you were constantly trying to be the best of something, and there were weird benchmarks for that kind of measure of success. It's really nice to have a movie that says, hey, it's okay if you just like something.
You know what other movie did that really well? Although I can't remember if it was Disney Animation or Pixar. But why am I freezing on the name of the movie? But it's a song where we don't talk about Bruno.
Oh, Encanto.
Encanto.
Yeah.
That's the same thing, right? That
Yeah.
same kind of theme about lifelong dream. It's okay if that's not what ends up being your future.
Yeah.
Something better might be out there.
Exactly.
For you. Yeah. That's really nice. By the way, somebody in the live chat, I lost who said it though. Brought up another movie that I totally agree with. I think Toy Story 4 is underrated.
Oh.
I think it is the fourth best the fourth best Toy Story movie. Like I think 1, 2, and 3 are all better than it. But because 1, 2, and 3 are all better than it, I think people dismiss Toy Story 4. And I thought Toy Story 4 was really good. I thought that one was really, really good too.
I have a future underrated.
Uh-oh. How can you say
Elio,
it's
future underrated.
Okay.
Will be the most.
As it's a huge success.
Which
Who
one?
knows?
Oh, Elio.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Elio.
yeah.
What if it's loved? What if it's
Yeah.
not underrated?
No.
What if you hate it?
You can't love it enough.
Future.
That's the thing.
Underrated. I'm calling it right now, and everyone's gonna say I'm crazy.
See, some people are putting in like movies like Jason in the live chat saying Wall-E. Wall-E is not underrated.
That's one of the biggest ones.
Wall-E-
That's my
I love
favorite.
Wall-E.
That's
Wall-E
my
is-
favorite.
If anything, for me, it's overrated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do
I
think
love
that.
I love Wall-E. Wall-E is like fantastic.
Ratatouille.
But when I say overrated, it's still like on that Pixar like curve.
Yeah.
I still like it. I just don't like adore it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
that's fair. I don't like the Cars movies. Those.
I
are
like the first
ones.
Cars.
The
And
first
then
Cars
the other
was
cars, like
okay.
whatever, and
I
planes,
didn't
I think
really
was
like
not
any of them
even
either.
Pixar.
Yeah.
I think it was Disney, but
My nephew loves.
See?
Kids
It
love
has-
everything
they
to
had
do
something
with
for
cars.
everyone.
It's an incredibly toyetic franchise.
Yes, and that's why. And,
Makes
and you know what?
sense.
That Cars ride.
I love that
It's so
Cars
fun.
ride.
That's
That
pretty
ride is
good.
great.
That's a pretty good ride. I hate Disneyland. They can go.
Oh, but
F
see,
and
that's
burn
not
to the
Disney.
ground,
That's-
but that's a
that's-
good
yeah,
ride.
yeah,
California
Beetlejuice Land?
Adventure.
Okay.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you say are maybe some of the more underrated Pixar films? Again, most of them are really, really great, but what are the ones that you think maybe don't get enough credit that they deserve? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? It is now 5 years and 2 months
It's been.
since you looked at me, cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry. It's been a long time
It's been a while.
since Kevin Feige said, ladies and gentlemen, your new Blade, Mahershala Ali.
Oh yeah.
But very quietly, you know what else has been a long time? Since they announced Iron Wars. That's been a long time too. I don't know if it's been 5 years, but it's been a long time. There are now reports coming out that are suggesting that both of these projects, Blade and Iron Wars, could be on the chopping block. And that in the next few weeks, Marvel is going to make a decision about the future of both of these projects. This comes to us from the folks over at Superhero Hype who write this. Among Marvel's multiple upcoming movies, Blade and Armor Wars are projects that have faced the most delays since their initial announcements. With Marvel looking to reduce the number of movies it launches in a year, reports suggest that either Blade, Armor Wars, or both films could be canceled by Marvel Studios. Now, it is important to point out that this story is not Disney has said they are now canceling Blade and Iron Wars.
Armor
But-
Wars.
Armor Wars, not Iron Wars. I'm going to probably say that a couple of times.
Yeah.
But this is consistent with something a little birdie told me just a few days ago, was that Iron Wars may not come to pass. Because if you guys remember, a few weeks ago, one of our live viewers wrote in and asked in a tip question, said, hey, what's going on with Armor Wars? Anything more? And I said at the time, you know what? I haven't heard crap about it. Like ever since they made the announcement that they shifted it from being a TV series to a movie, which itself was well over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I can't remember. But other than that, I haven't heard hide nor hair. So after that, a little birdie whispered in my ear, they are actually considering just killing it. They've made very little progress. When they've taken some initial stabs, this is just what I was told, okay? I cannot vouch for the veracity of it, but was that every time they've taken a stab at coming up with what it would be, they haven't liked what they've come up with, and they are considering just scrapping it. Then fast forward a few days later, this report comes out saying that they're looking at scrapping Blade and Armor Wars. All right. first thing we should mention is that means that it's still possible one of or both of these things get made. But I'll tell you why this is becoming more and more believable. Back when Blade was losing writers and losing directors and moving release dates and changing start production dates, there was usually an update that quickly followed it. I remember when they lost their first director, it was within 2 months, I believe, that we found out a new director had been put in. We found out that when they lost a set of writers or got rid of a set of writers, it was like a week later we found out a new writer has come in, right? We have heard nothing surrounding Blade other than Kevin Feige going, we're working on it. I was convinced, not that I had any information, this was just me as a fan speculating, but I was convinced that at D23, they were going to walk out onto stage, some director, and say, our new director for Blade, right? Then we got a director. We got a direction. We know where we're going with it now. Crickets. They didn't even mention it. And when Disney recently, because you remember Blade was supposed to come out, its scheduled release date is November 2025. November 2025. And in a recent Investors Day call, when they ran down their 2025 release schedule, you know what they didn't mention? Blade. They didn't even mention that it had moved. They just, here's our 2025 movies. They didn't mention Blade and didn't even mention it moving. Mahershala Ali is now 5 years older than he was when they first announced him. And as far as Armor Wars go, which was supposed to be a Don Cheadle-centric movie, I wonder if Secret Invasion may have killed a lot of that enthusiasm, because they, quite frankly, Secret Invasion was so bad, I think they lowered the stock of Rhodey in the MCU. That's how bad it was. Now, I still want to see it, but it's sounding more and more that these things might just be getting jettisoned. Anyway, Chris, you know, we've been following both of these projects for years now. Obviously, everybody's still excited about the idea of seeing Mahershala Ali as Blade and all that kind of stuff, but it does not seem to be coming together. We talked the other day about maybe the same thing that happened with Edgar Wright's Ant-Man has happened here. It's like, yeah, they had a great idea for Blade 5 years ago, but the MCU's in a different place now today than it was 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. What do you think the chances are that we do ultimately finally get this Blade film in the iteration that we have and Armor Wars at the same time? What do you think?
I feel like it's slim to none, honestly. I had a contact at Marvel who made it seem like this was going to go the way of some of the DC properties that became tax write-offs. And this just continues to kind of solidify this. And to be clear, everyone, once again, this is just a rumor. This is speculation. There have been no hard cuts made or anything like that. But it doesn't seem like these movies, as they were first presented to us, are going to happen. Armor Wars 2, there's so much stuff because of Secret Invasion and what they ended up doing.
Yeah, that made it very weird.
Where that was being shoehorned into a direction that I'm not sure works. That's just my opinion. So it's hard to say whether or not these are going to actually happen. It just feels like right now, after 5 years has passed from an announcement, and I know it takes a while to make these kinds of movies, it does just feel like this isn't going to happen with this particular ensemble. They're going to have a new team on the lunchbox, if you will.
Oh.
Yeah. Ray, I got to ask you how you're feeling about this.
I'm going to send a shot to Kevin Feige and Bob Iger. If you ever find yourself at Wingstop, order that 10-piece meal, and you go to pay for it, and you look in your wallet, you don't have that $17, it's because you canceled Blade. Because you canceled my movie ticket, baby. You don't have my movie ticket money in your wallet. Actually, you know what? It doesn't matter, because there was nothing. We didn't have a trailer. We didn't have footage. It's like losing nothing. You know what I mean? So, like, it was just the idea.
It's a dream, Ray. You're losing a dream.
And you know what? I have the Blade video game on PlayStation 1 in the garage. I'm going to play that. That'll be my movie for the rest of my life, I guess.
You've got that sick new game coming out.
Oh, yeah. And then that new Blade game.
Yeah, I was at the Video Game Awards last year, and they brought it out, and they did that big Blade. Yeah. I haven't heard anything about it since.
I'm sure that's still coming out. Isn't it BioWare or one of the... I think
it was something that was going to be Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, and it was like a big video game. Do not fail me. I forgot what companies made it. Do not, at least
Look it
you
up.
guys don't fail me.
You know what? I'm just trying to picture Bob Iger going to Wingstop and going, damn, I can't afford $17.
I know. And
have
it's all
cash.
because they canceled Blade.
It's all because, well, they haven't necessarily canceled it yet. I
Maybe
mean,
they
it may
just
still
need to
happen, but-
consolidate it.
Who's
You
it?
know, like it's a lot of
Bethesda?
projects. Just
Oh, Bethesda.
consolidate those projects. I see it now. Blade, Armor Wars.
Look. Here's the thing with Blade.
2 for one.
Obviously,
Crossover we deserve.
2 for 1.
they had that end scene in
Eternals.
So you're not gonna put him in there unless there was a direction of his story, like where you're gonna take that. So I don't know what happened to that. Like, you know, we get all these writers that have been switched out. Is it because they're confined to something that their stories? I don't know. I would really love a documentary on this whole thing if the Blade movie ever comes out, or if it doesn't. Just because it's so weird how they would put him in that post credit scene, and then like now there's just nothing. We've had nothing other than changes and updates, but no, not even going to production or whatever. It's disappointing.
And by the way, can we stop with, I'm just seeing a few people bringing this from live. Can we stop with this bring back Wesley Snipes' Blade nonsense?
I don't think they can.
Can we just stop? Because it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Like you can't do, by the way, I just want to remind everybody, here's a little, because I think there's a little bit of a Mandela effect when it comes around to the Blade movies. I think people somehow think they remember Blade movies being some huge, massive hits. If you take Blade 1, 2, and 3 and combine all their box office,
Is it a Black Adam?
it's a Black Adam.
Nice.
I just wish they
It's
did.
It's about $400 million. The last Blade movie, worldwide, made $130 million. Listen, don't get mad at me for just stating facts. That's facts. Ain't nobody going to go see a Wesley Snipes Blade movie. I loved Wesley Snipes as Blade, and I loved Wesley Snipes in Deadpool as Blade. I thought that was really great and fun, but just stop with the nonsense of let's bring back Wesley Snipes as Blade. Never going to happen, and it would be a guaranteed bomb.
And I was so happy when Disney Plus had that one Werewolf by Night, like that special
loved.
free. I thought, you know what, that could be a place where the Blade movie could sit if you know, just by itself. If they couldn't fit it in with the MCU, then they could do it on that. But they're not doing those anymore, so I don't know.
Guys, question is for you. There are reports going around that they could be on the chopping block, that the future of Armor Wars and Blade is going to be decided in the next few weeks. And I think it's looking like we could lose both of them. What do you think? Are you even, after 5 years, are you even interested in these projects anymore? I know I am. Clearly Ray is. But how are you feeling about it? Do you think one or both may ultimately happen or not happen? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all that down, let's move on to the most important part of our show here, shall we? Which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, let's take a quick moment and thank another sponsor of today's episode, my mobile service provider. They've been my mobile service provider for a couple of years now, and they should be yours, our friends at Mint Mobile. You know when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you bump on repeat and you have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It's such an awesome deal, there is no way you can keep it to yourself. My last mobile service provider was quite good, but ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've enjoyed even better coverage, better phone clarity, and I'm paying less than a third of what I paid to my old provider. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bills to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions may apply. See Mint Mobile for details. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for being my mobile service provider and for being a longtime sponsor of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get to the important stuff. Your thoughts and comments. Jonathan, what we got up first?
Gavin is first and says, I'm a little suspicious of the Joker reviews. I feel like the criticism being uninteresting are tied to the fact that we spent so much time building up to the climax in the first, and critics were expecting to ride that high in the second, not a character study.
Okay,
But the first was a character study.
Gavin, let me encourage you. Never make up shit in your head about why other people are doing something, especially for a movie you've never seen. You don't know these critics. You're like, well, that critic's only saying that because of this. You don't know that critic. You don't know anything about the critics that are liking it or not liking it, and you haven't seen the movie. One of the really frustrating things we as movie fans do, and I've been guilty of it too, is we make up excuses for why other people think the way they do. But that's literally it. You're making it up. You're creating it in your own imagination. You don't know those people. You haven't even seen the movie. So let's stop with the whole, well, that critic doesn't like it because of this, this, and this. You don't know that at all. You have nothing to base that on. So let's not start that dance. All right, what's next?
All right. Gavin says, hey, gang, so Ezra Miller's story evolves again. Alleged victim's father drops charges, says he was given false info. And the father posts pictures on Instagram with Ezra, supporting messages. And Ezra starts a band with the alleged victim. Whole thing is wild. Well, there's multiple victims.
Okay, the TMZ nonsense, I don't care. The Ezra Miller stuff is now ancient history. And by the way, even if that one situation works out, it doesn't change the situation about him breaking into that couple's bedroom. It doesn't change the situation of him breaking in a house and stealing alcohol. It doesn't change the situation of him throwing chairs at people. It doesn't change the situation of him grabbing a girl by the throat and taking her down to the ground. Again, I am not passing judgment on any of those things because I wasn't there for any of it. I'm just saying it's like, the Ezra Miller situation is very 2022 now, and I don't really care anymore. We're all kind of past it. All right, what's next?
Andy says, Wicked, just like Dune and It, is excluding the part 1 from the title. Is this a creative choice or deliberate measure? I could be cherry picking, but Mission Impossible and a couple part 1s come to mind as struggling at the box office.
Yeah, I think it's a terrible marketing decision to put part 1.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, Star Wars isn't called Star Wars Part 1. Lord of the Rings, I mean, you could have called Lord of the Rings Part 1 and Lord of the Rings Part 2. They called it the names of the books, and that was a very good decision. Just putting Part 1 in something, you're basically telling the audience and the potential demographic, you're not getting a complete story.
Yep.
Even if the first part, like, to me, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring tells a complete story. There's still more story to tell, but every Lord of the Rings movie brings you to a big climactic moment, whether it's Battle of Helm's Deep, or whether it's, you know, the combat with the Uruk-hai and the orcs, with the redemption of Boromir, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I think it is a marketing mistake to put part 1 in any title. I just think it's a bad idea.
I think especially if you're starting your franchise out that way, right? So if it was like Harry Potter got away with this with Deathly Hallows, but there were 6 other films preceding it.
Exactly.
And then you're like, this last one's a 2-parter. You already had your audience built up. People were excited for it. If it was like The Sorcerer's Stone Part 1, right out of the gate, people would have been,
Well, and Wicked, historically, a lot of folks aren't as keen on Act 2. So I feel like immediately letting everyone know, hey, also, this is going to be a separate movie, is going to kind of bum people out. Entice them, get them to stick around and see how they do this.
And did you just mention Deathly Hallows?
Yes.
Yeah, the whole thing about that's what that was different because that was part 6 of the franchise already.
It was already established.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Excuse me, Claire says, hi all, love the show. You've mentioned that for some TV shows you would expect more episodes. As a Brit who grew up with 4 to 12 episodes per series, I know the American model is traditionally different, but it is changed really so bad if it's what serves the story. If it serves the story is the point, though.
Well, and then here's the argument that I would present whenever somebody says, you know, serves the story. How come it is that for 50 years, television writers knew how to write stories for 20 plus episodes? For 20 plus years, for 50 plus years, writers knew how to write stories or multiple stories to cover 20 some odd episodes per season. And then there's the argument, yeah, but every once in a while you get a filler episode. Guess what? I've been living now with streaming series that have 6 to 8 episodes. they end up still having filler episodes. A filler episode, by the way, is not necessarily a bad thing if you make it really good. You know what? There's that one Community episode that they literally call it like the filler episode.
Oh yeah.
And it was still fun. It was still fun and good. You can do like a Supernatural. Every year would have 1 or 2 episodes that wasn't really tied into the overall story, but that was fine. They still made them great, fun, interesting stories. My big complaint is the made up excuse that, well, we shrink it down now to 6 to 8 episodes to have, better overall quality. I've still seen a lot of crappy streaming TV shows. Still seen a lot of crappy streaming TV shows. Some awesome, a lot of great. We're in a golden age of television too. Yeah. But yeah, like for 50 years, they were able to do 20 plus episode seasons and make them awesome and iconic and fabulous and great, and some crap. Absolutely. But I would expect if you're going to downgrade to like 6 episodes, well then damn, that better be all thriller, no filler, like every ounce bang for your buck, every single moment, the best of 20 squeezed into 6, but that's not what we get. So yeah, I kind of reject that argument myself. I just haven't heard I just haven't seen it be justified yet in my television watching experience. Anyway. Oh, that's true. Experimental Films live chat saying the Fly episode in Breaking Bad, maybe the best filler episode in history. That episode, I love that episode. That episode's awesome. Anyway. All right, what's next?
We got Obert Juan Canobert. Hey, John, do you think the new He-Man movie will lean into the goof absurdity of the cartoon or go for a slightly more grounded, serious tone? Hard to make a guy named Manny Faces seem ridiculous. Also, Willem Dafoe as Skeletor.
Or a guy called Beastman.
Or Fisto.
God, yeah, Fisto.
There's someone named Fisto, you guys.
The one you don't introduce on the first date.
Yeah, when your daughter comes up, what's your name, your new boyfriend? Fisto? Don't want to know. Just nope.
Just saying.
Nope. Not going to do it.
Well, if Fisto's in it, then it's going to be the comedic route. But if it's going to be, that's what I was saying too yesterday.
A lot of people aren't laughing about fisting.
Nope.
I was saying
so
that,
much nope.
I was saying that yesterday, like what
you were talking about fisting yesterday?
No. The theme of this He-Man, what Travis Knight is gonna do, is it gonna be like our first Masters of the Universe film, or will it go into the cartoon?
No, I'll tell you what he'll do. He'll do with this what he did with Bumblebee,
and I hope that's the case.
Which was, I mean, not to sound trite, but it's literally to find the perfect middle ground. He included, listen, there were still in moments of Bumblebee where you heard the old 80s, a sound effect that, by the way, makes no sense. If a giant machine is transforming, all you're hearing is metal grinding. But we get that, right? But he still threw that in there. So you got some of the more jokey John Cena moments, which, by the way, I liked the John Cena moments in Bumblebee. But at the same time, they made it a little more grounded and a little serious at times and whatever, right? And I think Travis Knight will bring that beautiful balance that he brought to Bumblebee, which is the best Transformers movie. By the way, Transformers 1 is looking pretty damn good right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it.
We're going to go see it on Saturday. The newest trailer they just put out is great. And the reactions at the latest film festival, the reactions coming out of it are amazing. Anyway, but Bumblebee right now still stands as the best Transformers movie. And I think Travis Knight will bring that balance. So yes, you can't go into a He-Man movie and go Breaking Bad with it. There's literally a sorceress wearing white bird feathers. Like you got a guy walking around in a furry loincloth. Why are you wearing a furry loincloth? What? You do live in this like space age eternity. Why are you walking around in a furry loincloth?
I guess it's gotten to the point where I don't really care which way they go. We're getting a He-Man movie. It's coming.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a good balance. Travis Knight between two. All you got to say is Kubo and the Two Strings and Bumblebee. He is going to do He-Man justice. He's absolutely going to do it justice. All right, what's next?
Jake G says, I think Sonic 3 will beat Mufasa opening weekend. I seriously don't think families would be willing to choose to watch lions surviving river rapids over watching two hedgehogs have an anime fight through space and probably both turning Super Saiyan. I disagree, but and that's not my
Jay, you're a
personal.
real hero.
That's not my own personal choice. I'm just thinking of like what families are kind of into, and
Yeah.
I think they're both gonna love them.
Father.
I think one's gonna move. Honestly, I still
Okay.
think one's
So?
gonna move.
I just want to point out some statistics, some facts.
Oh,
right.
no.
No,
don't
not
use
facts.
figures and
I
data
wanna
to
go
make
off
Ray and
feelings.
I feel bad.
Just actual data.
Let's go off feelings.
yeah. We trust our guts.
Just
We do our
actu-
own research.
Now, the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which I adore. I love both of the Sonic movies. Sonic the Hedgehog made $58 million opening weekend. Sonic 2 made about 70 something.
That's hearsay.
No, it's hearsay.
I hear that
Fake
a lot
news.
of Judge Judy.
Fake
I
news.
hear
news.
people say that.
When you don't like the facts, just say it's fake news.
That's hearsay.
The last Lion King movie, the predecessor to this Mufasa movie, made $191 million opening weekend.
Which is insane.
Insane as it may be,
People like the nostalgia.
it
so
is
they're
what
going
it
back to
is.
I know.
I think Sonic 3 very realistically can have a magnificent opening of about, I think it can get $80 to $90 million opening
Oh,
weekend.
that's a lot.
I think it can have a very, very big opening weekend. I still think Mufasa makes more than it. Listen, I'm sorry, more families are going to go to see Mufasa than go to see Sonic. Sonic 2 made $400 million. Made $400 million. That's great. Don't get me wrong. That's great, but it's a Black Adam. And it wasn't the first film. This was the second film after people already saw how good the franchise is. Saw Sonic 1, which was awesome. So the box office went up to 400 million. It went up by about 25%. And this one will also go up by about 25%. But listen, whether they should or shouldn't, and whether it's fair or unfair, is irrelevant. Mufasa's going to make more money. Whether it should or shouldn't. It just is.
Listen, you can be correct all you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ray and I are going to lead with our
It's going to be a
hearts.
nice weekend. We're going to have some nice
We're gonna have a
options.
nice time,
I
yeah.
hope everyone watches the one and enjoys.
So excited to
Oh, I
watch
can't wait
Sonic
to see-
3 and Nightmare.
And listen, I'll be honest with you, I am more looking forward to Sonic 3 than I am Mufasa.
For sure.
I'm 100% more excited to
just
see
have-
Sonic 3.
I just have this feeling I'm
Y'all are
going to
like,
leave
"Sonic
Mufasa
I'm like,
a little
"Nosferatu."
sad, a little depressed. I don't know why. I have no idea. I just don't like to know about this Mufasa's life because of where he ends up.
Do you think they're going to have a foreshadowing moment where he almost gets run over by a wildebeest?
That's
I-
why he hates wildebeest. That's where he got the idea.
I don't think so. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but one never knows. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, with the Brolin GL rumors, I wonder if they're trying to set up an Emerald Twilight storyline with him becoming Parallax. Having him an
No.
established veteran
No.
gives them a good path to it. Shouldn't happen too early, though. Maybe first, second JL movie.
No.
5 to 8 years.
Remember, Hal Jordan isn't that old in the original comic storyline of Parallax. So it's like so Josh Brolin being an older, more experienced, maybe more grizzled Hal Jordan has nothing to do with the Parallax story. Like you could have had Ryan Gosling playing Hal Jordan, and that would be more in line with the Parallax story. So no, going with a slightly older, if they cast Josh Brolin as Hal Jordan, it's that doesn't suggest at all that they're doing the Parallax storyline. It's actually very far removed from it. Eventually, you do a Parallax storyline, but not in your first HBO series, I don't think.
But he'd be really good as Parallax.
Yeah, he
Because that's
would.
the thing that makes
of
me
course he
go,
would be.
oh, I mean, you've got the gravitas, you've got the chops, and you actually can absolutely do that hero's journey into darkness with him beautifully.
But Parallax is a story that you cannot come out of the gate with. It's a story that you have to have a long experience with Hal as a hero. You have to, it's very important to Parallax, the Parallax storyline, that Hal and Oliver have a very tight relationship. I won't spoil anything for how the Parallax storyline ends
Yeah.
or anything, but you got to develop that relationship. That Parallax is just a story that has to come later, I think. I just don't see it. And again, in the Parallax, this is the most important part. In the comic books, Hal Jordan isn't an older Hal Jordan at that point. So there's really no connection there. But you are right. He'd would
do a
make
really good
an
job.
excellent Parallax.
Well, and in this DC universe too, where we're coming out the gate with Creature Commandos, it's one of those things of James Gunn might do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, but here's the other question. Why I completely agree. I just thought about this. That Brolin would make a great Parallax. Is it too Thanos-like?
Yeah.
Probably.
Is it like
I literally
Thanos-like?
was like, he's gonna be like, run from it, dread it. I am
I
paralyzed.
mean, let's say he's running around collecting rings.
I am inevitable. I mean,
Instead of stones, he's running around collecting rings.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're getting inspiration.
they're getting
If they get
inspiration.
yeah.
All right, what's
he needs
next?
to find the One Ring.
I was gonna say, be brave, cast Andy Serkis.
There you go.
Ooh, I'd be down.
Anonymous says, I don't understand the level of upset we see about Reeves' Batman being grounded when we will be getting more fantastical Batman in the DCU at the same time. I think it's awesome we get both, kind of like how DC has Batman and Detective Comics both every month. You sound like a very reasonable person, Anonymous.
very
Yeah.
reasonable.
What is de facto the most? What is basically? What is across the population and across the globe considered to be the best Batman movie ever?
Probably Batman.
Probably The
Begins.
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, yeah.
Dark Knight is universally pretty much not that everybody agrees,
Yeah,
but
it's
by miles, you put
yeah.
out a poll across the globe. What's the greatest Batman movie ever? It's Batman: The Dark Knight. Guess what?
Yeah.
That's Batman Begins, Batman: The Dark Knight, grounded Batman movies. Christopher Nolan kept it that way. These can be great. And again, I don't understand the crying about it, because if you want a more supernatural involved Batman, you're going to get that in the DCU. This is a separate thing. And I think, and like following in the footsteps of the greatest Batman movies, I think this is a good move. And again, the Batman made so much money and was so well received that, yeah, it's going to be great.
I just think it's the same mindset. Like if we talk about The Crow, if we talk about Zack Snyder, if we talk about this, you get a very loud minority who overwhelm the chat boards and everything. And it's just like, okay, I get this is a triggering moment for you. Let's move on.
Sure.
You know,
All right, what's next?
Mega Red says, hey crew, happy Friday. Ray, glad to see you're doing better. I was sad you missed the day the Sonic 3 trailer released. Yeah, Ray mentioned that. Can we give Ray the spotlight to share his thoughts on the trailer? We watch Sonic movies, but he looks badass, so I'll be there.
I gotta say, the crazy thing was, like, the first time I watched it, I couldn't help but there's like a tear come down my eye. I don't know why, but the next few days while I was bedridden, I was watching every single YouTuber's reaction to the trailer, one by one. You know how sometimes they have those reactions where they put a bunch of them on screen? Mm-hmm. I gave one view to anybody that put up a reaction on YouTube. I swear, I had it on my search list. I defaulted it to newest upload, and I watched all of your reactions just because I was just so happy. I never thought we would see this. Like,
It's a great trailer.
yeah,
It's
and
a
I'm so
great
excited.
trailer. It really is. All right, what's next?
Mega Red has a two-parter. John, I've been following movie news for 12 years now.
Whoa.
I discovered your show last year, and what a year it's been.
Oh, thank you, man.
One of the craziest stories across those 12 years was the rumored Aunt May movie back during the Amazing Spider-Man era. I never knew what to think of that idea. Honestly, it was always sounded so ridiculous. I never believed it. John, do you remember hearing anything about that movie? Okay, please mention the Schnepp thing.
I always say I'm getting ready
Were
to.
you just as confused as I was? To be fair, it was during a tumultuous time at Sony.
Well, now, okay. First of all, before we get to it,
Yeah.
understand that studios spitball a lot of things, right? There's 100 different movie ideas that get batted around studios for every one that actually gets made. Okay. So whenever you see a report that they almost made an Aunt May movie, no, they didn't. They never got anywhere close to it. But it was an idea that was being batted around. When you have a character as popular as Spider-Man, you look for spin-off possibilities. One of my favorite, not my absolute favorite, but one of my favorite moments ever of doing these types of shows was, I believe we were still at AMC. And the late, great King of the Sweaties, John Schnepp, was on the show. And I'm not getting it exactly right, but the basic thing is, well, I know how they came up with the idea. How? They're sitting around going, Aunt May, and he did this whole thing of like that they were dragging weed and came up with the idea of Aunt May. It's one of the greatest moments ever.
Yeah, I'm sure they
in
can look it
online
up.
film punditry.
They can just look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go look up John Schnepp,
Aunt
Aunt
May.
May,
Yeah.
and you'll find it. It's one of the greatest moments in online film punditry in history. And listen again. It's an idea that had to be floated. Like, is Spider-Man is super popular? Can we do spin-offs of it? Who are the central characters? And what if you did it back? Listen, they did an entire TV series about Alfred, Batman's butler.
Well, that was literally called that.
And it was literally called Alfred, right? Was it
Batman's
called Alfred? No, or was it called his last name? Pennywise.
Pennywise.
His last name.
Batman's butler.
Pennywise is the clown.
Yeah.
Pennywise. That would have been a better one.
Yeah.
It was. They literally did.
Terrifying.
And you know what?
Come here.
That Pennyworth show
It was good.
pretty damn good.
Worth every penny.
So they, so it is incumbent upon.
Thank you.
They're actually not doing their job if they don't like spitball some of those ideas. So
Yeah.
but it's good that they didn't actually make it. It's good that they didn't make it.
Yeah. But
All
then
right,
they
what's
made
next?
some other concerning decisions, Sony anyway. So
Yes, they did.
Matan says it's Chris Day special.
Oh,
How
yay.
soon do you think Nintendo will allow someone to make a Fire Emblem movie or show? They like to put those blue hair boys in girls in Smash Brothers all the time, so it's bound to happen someday.
Oh, I'm sure they're already working on trying to do a Fire Emblem movie. That game is so popular.
I've never played it.
It's a real fun kind of JRPG fighting game.
All right.
Okay.
It's a fun time. I'm sure after Super Mario Brothers, Nintendo would be so foolish to not look at every one of their popular games and go,
Right.
now how do we bring you to the screen? It's gonna happen.
Has anybody gotten Star Wars Outlaws yet?
No, I have not
No,
yet.
I've seen
Yeah,
reviews.
here's the thing.
Reviews haven't been
I've
great.
watched people do Let's Play, and they seem to be enjoying it. But once again, with Star Wars, there's all these like videos where you're like, I don't know if they're being honest or if they're just like being like incel, where they're like, this is the biggest failure ever for a Star Wars film. This is the worst or game. I'm like, okay, so is it bad or is not? I
The
don't know.
only negative I had heard so far was the same kind of thing with that Monkey King game that looked so pretty, was that it was just a little glitchy. And so usually I wait a little while so that they do a couple patches and then I get the game.
And those games usually end if you're not first to play, you might as well wait it out because those games eventually come down to a more acceptable price.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I always
especially
wait
on
for the
my
deals.
video game budget. Yeah.
So Anne's got this big conference coming up. In a couple of weeks.
Okay.
She's going to be gone for 4 days.
Oh, you want to play something?
I think maybe I'm just going to download Star Wars Outlaws and just kind of
There's-
binge play it for a couple of days.
I watched the IGN review. I think that should tell you if everything you need to know.
All right, I'll go check that out too. All right, what's next?
Raymond says, rest in peace to Sergio Mendes, the renowned Brazilian pop band leader who was popular in the 60s for such songs as Mas Que Nada and the jazz rendition of Fool on the Hill. Mendes and his Brazil band came back in 88 with the hit Never Gonna Let You Go.
I would be being disingenuous if I said I've ever heard of the gentleman. I have not.
You've
but-
probably heard the
You've
music,
heard
though.
Maskinada.
yeah, probably heard the music,
Maskinada.
but clearly he meant something to you, and so like, sorry to hear about that. All right, what's next?
It's me, Jessica. BB2 was pretty awesome. It was the Top Gun Maverick I've been waiting to see or been waiting for ever since my childhood VHS days, and I got the AMC handbook, tin box collectible. My friend asked me why I bought it. In the words of Sandler in The Hot Chick, you can put your weed in there.
Again, I want every movie fan to love every movie they see, especially movies I don't like, because I get a lot of joy as a movie fan knowing that others got enjoyment out of something that I didn't. And so I love that you loved Beetlejuice too. I totally am. I'm so happy that you did. It makes me jealous because I thought it was a steaming bag of shit. I thought it was awful, but I'm glad you liked it, and I hope other people like it too. If you haven't seen it yet and you're going, I hope you have a great time.
And then how come you hang up on me every time I try to call you and talk about the terminal? The terminal. It's just hang up. You want me to love it? I'm trying to tell you why I love it. Come on.
All right.
You liar.
I wasn't going to,
You liar.
but now I'm going to tell a story
No.
about Ray calling me.
Oh, you know what? I found out about
no,
getting
let me
real
tell the
nervous.
story.
I found out about this.
I know. Let me tell you the
Go
story.
ahead.
Because I didn't tell you what happened.
Yes.
But you found out. So imagine, if you will, you call in sick to work
Yeah, I did.
and then later go to a party. And while at the party, you accidentally butt dial your boss, who can hear the party in the background on the same day that you called in sick. So I think it was a Friday.
Yeah.
And I talked to Ray in the morning, and I'm like, hey, Ray, and I'm exaggerating a bit here, but hey, Ray, I just need to know, are you coming in today? If you're not, that's fine, but are you coming in today? Oh, no, I can't get into the car. Oh, so much pain and discomfort. Okay.
Did someone drive you to the party?
Now, wait a minute. Later in the evening, later that same evening, Ann and I get back from the Marvel Infinity Saga concert, and we literally have just pulled into the driveway. And as I'm opening the door to get out of the car, my phone rings. It's like midnight.
Oh, yeah.
It's never good news when somebody's calling you at midnight. And I'm immediately thinking my sister got into an accident, or whatever. And I look at the phone, and it's Ray calling me. And Ann's like, who is it? I'm like, it's Ray. I'm like, did he have to go to the hospital? Like, what's going on? So I put it on speaker because I'm worried Ray's in the hospital, right? So I hit speaker, and standing there right beside me, all concerned
All
about Ray.
concerned, baby.
And as we hit the answer button, all we hear is ding, 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 ching, 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 ding, 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 ding. We hear slot machines.
He had to pay for his medical bills.
Yeah.
Slot machines. I'm like, and first Ann is like, is that like medical equipment crashing? Is Ray having a heart attack? I'm like, what? And then Ann's like, that motherfucker's at the casino.
It was the worst.
And for like 5 minutes, we stood there going, Ray, trying to
I
get me
was
here.
wondering, and then I saw a text, and I was like, "What?" John texted me like at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I texted him like, are you at the casino?
Here's the deal. Like, getting in my car, bending this side is horrible. I can't do it. Even right now, I can't do it comfortably.
But in the passenger side of the car, much easier.
But also, I was at home the whole week. That was the first time I took a shower in that afternoon for 5 days because I was just bedridden because I couldn't move.
Yeah.
So when I took a shower, I was like, maybe I'm good.
Time to
You
go
know,
to
my
the
neighbors
casino.
go, hey, we're going to go. And I went. I walked maybe a little bit just to I had to sit in the cafe the whole time because I didn't realize I couldn't walk for long stretches until my cider. And I waited for them to finish, and I got back. It was miserable.
That's like saying to your wife, yeah, baby, I had sex with your friend, but I didn't enjoy it.
But I wasn't going to miss any other day. No,
I don't think it's that bad.
I wasn't going to miss any other days of work, especially Monday. So I wanted a test to see if I could get myself going for the next week because I really didn't want to not
at midnight
And pay your medical bills.
at a casino.
He was just testing the limits. You got to test the limits
meant
like
there's
Top Gun
no-
Maverick. He was mavericking.
Yeah,
it,
I was
man.
Maverick. I was going
mavericking.
nine.
He's like, if I can do this, I can go to work tomorrow.
9 G's.
But Ann was like, did my brother really just butt dial his boss on a day that he called in sick to work from the casino?
He's, he's a maverick.
You know what? I'm a real G, baby.
That's true.
I'm a
That's
G.
what real
Drop some
G's do.
sunglasses on him.
I'm a G. All
I
right,
suggest everyone do that at least once.
let's keep Casino Royale.
Casino Royale. Nice. That's good.
Casino Royale.
Well,
All right, what's
that was
next?
pretty good.
Anonymous says, Galadriel. Lighting her arrow on fire from a falling orc and two-shotting orcs, setting
Well,
them
stop.
ablaze.
I have not seen the new episode.
Yeah.
so-
Wait, what are we talking?
Well,
Oh,
anyway,
wait,
he
oh,
just
yeah,
said
it came out last night.
They just said they loved the episode and it's
It's
everything they
good.
wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw the new episode?
Yeah.
And you liked it?
I really liked it.
I have
There's-
not.
So
I
wait.
was at a football. I was watching
There's an
football last night.
epic
so-
fight scene.
Are you saying you're 4 out of 4 right now this season?
I'm enjoying it, but I also, once again, I know I was in the minority and I didn't hate it as much as everybody.
Of what?
Yeah.
I
Are
love
you 3
Rings
out
of
of 3
Power.
right now, John? On
You
that
did
show
the first
so far?
time.
So
I didn't hate it as
far,
much as Rob and Amy.
I
I
am-
tried. I tried so hard, and then they wore me down. I was like, "You're right. That part was bad." And then my rewatch, I really liked.
so here's where I am on the 3 I've seen so far. I'm not willing to say any of the 3 were great, but I'd say they're 3 for 3. Like I at least could say
Yeah, just say 3 for 3.
I
We
like
don't-
that episode. Yeah, so far for me they're 3 for
You
3.
wanna
I'll
watch the
watch
next
the
one.
4th one today. Yeah.
Okay.
But they made the elves rings first in the Silmarillion. The elves rings are actually the last to be made, so
All right, what's next?
AL says, with the negative reception to the Minecraft movie trailer, do you think W will cancel the movie for tax write-off?
No.
So I asked some of my
Haven't seen
like my kids and then their friends that are like into Minecraft. I'm like, what did they think about it? And they're like, this is an insult to Minecraft.
Oh
No, what they might do is fire whatever trailer house made that trailer
Yeah.
and
Not
then
good.
try to
'Cause
redeem
that
it by
is not
putting out
good,
better
actually.
trailers.
Because the
look,
movie might be better.
I don't care how bad your movie is. And by the way, we have all seen terrible movies or terrible trailers to movies that end up being great, right? I don't care how bad your movie is. If you're a good trailer house, you can make a good looking trailer. And they did not. So I expect them to fire whatever trailer house made that trailer and do it, but no, they're not going to cancel it at this point.
I'm sorry.
They're already spending marketing money.
No,
on it,
yeah.
so they're not going to cancel it
I'm
now.
sorry, but something smells super good right now. I'm just
Something's in the
saying.
kitchen.
And
Yeah.
probably brought home lunch,
Oh my god.
or she's cooking. She's been cooking more.
Do I got any more time off?
I don't know. Call the
How
casino.
about that? You from the kitchen?
Do I have any
All right,
more?
what's next?
Tron says, with Eternals 2 now dead, do you think Arishem will ever come back to judge Earth? And will we see Star Fox and the Black Knight again? Or is it all just scrapped? You might see Arishem because we have the one
Well,
dead.
bring up the question again for a second. Okay, no, Eternals 2 is not dead. Let's just be clear about that. Eternals 2 is not dead. It could die. It very well could die. Doesn't have a it's on life support, but just be clear right now, it is not officially dead. But even aside from Eternals 2, we are seeing now Captain America 4 is going back to some of the story threads that were dropped in Eternals, right? Tiamat, the celestial that was coming out of the ocean that got turned into stone, is apparently going to be a part of Captain America 4. It's where they're going to get adamantium from, is out of Tiamat.
The Celestial that never was.
So there are other stories and other movies that can happen that can also pick up on story threads done in Eternals with characters from Eternals. So number one, Eternals 2 is not canceled, although it could be. But even if it is, you can still use the other characters. You can still use characters from Eternals in other MCU storylines and bring in those story threads. So at some point, I think we will be revisiting Arishem. I think at some point we will. All right, what's next?
Bry Guy says, hi, Giovanna. Here are my quick recommendations of YouTube food cooking channels for you to check out later. Kanan Badalov, Feast Fusions, Notorious Foods, Uncle Rural Gourmet. That sounds good. Enjoy. P.S. You missed my question yesterday.
We still
Well,
don't know what it is.
I personally missed all of them because I wasn't in here for answering the questions. I don't watch a lot of. There is one cooking YouTube channel that I watch a lot. You never see the guy. All you ever see is his hands, and he never speaks.
Yeah. I have one
It's
of those too.
It's like something spoon. It's called.
I have one
And
of
it's just a
those
close
too.
up of his hands making the stuff. It's awesome. And then I've gotten Ann and I in the last 2 weeks. We've gotten hooked on this YouTube channel called Beard Meets Food.
Beard Meets Food. I love him.
We've gotten kind of hooked on that,
Oh,
guys.
he's
Is that one where he
great.
does like the eating
He
challenges?
has the food challenges.
Yeah, he
he's this
just
great
finds
Scottish
restaurants
guy.
around the world that has food challenges, and I've only seen him not do one. The only one I saw him fail was the one with the giant pancakes.
He's great.
But other than that, he's polished off every single one I've seen. So big props to
If you
Beard
like-
Meets Food.
If you like him, he's done a team up with this guy Joel. I can't remember his last name. Who's a Canadian, who's a really great competitive food eater as well.
Nice.
He's great.
All right,
Keep
what's
eating,
next?
everyone.
Zelda Master says, for the record, and with each having 2 movies released theatrically, the Sonic franchise averages 362 million, whereas TLK franchise averages 1.3 billion.
Oh, he's just making the point clear.
Well,
that
but to be fair, really, in the modern CG animated stuff, there's only been one Lion King movie. Like you can't, you don't count the remake as a part of the franchise. It's now the
Not a
beginning of its
sequel.
own thing, right? So I wouldn't count that. So
Either
yes,
way. Either
the
way.
Either
Sonic
way.
films have averaged about 350, and the one Lion King one we've had is 1.6. To be clear, I do not believe Mufasa is going to make $1.6 billion.
No.
I don't think it's going to anywhere close to that. But even if it makes half of it, it's still going to make more than Sonic 3, which I'm more excited for Sonic 3.
I will bet there will be more people dressed up like Sonic and Shadow more than Mufasa. going
I
to
don't
the
see
Pit.
anybody dressing up as Mufasa.
That's why we won that.
Will.
One. We're gonna win that one.
I'll
Chris.
give you that one.
We're gonna win
More
that one, Chris.
cosplay from Sonic. Yeah.
Jonathan's gonna dress up like Mufasa now just to be a dick.
All right, what's next?
So that was it.
And guys, that'll do it for today's
Once
installment
again,
of the
let's,
John
send
Campea
us
Show
off.
podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. And why is Ray calling me?
I just tried to butt dial.
He's going to the casino.
He's gonna call you, tell you I'm gonna go eat something in the kitchen.
He's in your kitchen. Guys, so for Ray Ora,
See you guys later. Have a good weekend.
Jonathan Voico,
Goodbye, Mufasa.
Chris Carr,
Bye, guys.
my name is John Campea. Thanks for being here. And until next time, my friends, Fisto.
No.